Lincoln's Reconstruction remains unfinished in the historical imagination. It exists only in speeches, letters, policy drafts, and final conversations. We know he wanted mercy. We know he supported freedom. We know his ideas were evolving. But we will never know the final shape of his vision. Because Booth's bullet ended more than a presidency. It ended a future America never got to test. The Civil War ended with Union victory. But peace was far more complicated. Abraham Lincoln understood that. He believed the nation needed healing, not just victory. His Reconstruction plan was imperfect, unfinished, and deeply human. But it died with him, and what followed would shape American race, politics, and justice for generations. In our final episode of the Lincoln Files, we ask the biggest question of all. What if Lincoln had survived? Thank you for watching. History often turns on seconds. A guard stays at his post. A door remains closed. A pistol misfires. A man hesitates. On April 14th, 1865, any one of those moments might have changed everything. If Booth had been stopped, Lincoln would have survived. And on the morning of April 15th, America would still have had its wartime president. The Civil War was effectively over. General Robert E. Lee had surrendered. The Union was intact. Lincoln stood at the peak of his political power. His next challenge was peace. And that peace would prove harder than war. Had Lincoln lived, the United States would have entered Reconstruction under the man who understood the conflict better than anyone. That alone changes history. The first and most immediate difference would have been leadership. After Lincoln's death, Vice President Andrew Johnson became president. Johnson lacked Lincoln's political skill. He clashed with Congress. He alienated allies. And his Reconstruction policies helped deepen division. Lincoln was different. He was patient, strategic, pragmatic. He understood compromise. He also understood timing. Many historians believe Lincoln could have controlled Reconstruction more effectively than Johnson. He likely would have prevented the political chaos that followed. Not because he was perfect, but because he was far more capable. America lost that leadership at the worst possible moment. The first and most immediate difference would have been leadership. After Lincoln's death, Vice President Andrew Johnson became president. Johnson lacked Lincoln's political skill. He clashed with Congress. He alienated allies. And his Reconstruction policies helped deepen division. Lincoln was different. He was patient, strategic, pragmatic. He understood compromise. He also understood timing. Many historians believe Lincoln could have controlled Reconstruction more effectively than Johnson. He likely would have prevented the political chaos that followed. Not because he was perfect, but because he was far more capable. America lost that leadership at the worst possible moment. One of the strongest clues comes from Lincoln's final public speech on April 11, 1865. There, he supported limited black voting rights, especially for educated black men and black veterans. This was a major shift. It suggests Lincoln was moving toward political equality. Had he lived, that evolution may have continued. Perhaps more black Americans would have gained voting rights earlier. Perhaps Southern governments would have been forced to accept this faster. This could have changed the political future of the South. It could have altered race relations for generations. But Lincoln moved cautiously. He rarely rushed major changes. Progress likely would have been gradual. Still, gradual under Lincoln may have been stronger than chaos under Johnson. The Ku Klux Klan emerged during Reconstruction. It grew partly because of instability, racial backlash, and weak enforcement. Would Lincoln have crushed it early? Possibly. As wartime commander-in-chief, Lincoln understood federal power. He was willing to use force when necessary. If violent resistance threatened Reconstruction, Lincoln may have acted faster and harder than Johnson. This could have weakened early Klan growth. But hatred in the South did not begin with the Klan. It existed long before. Lincoln could not erase it. He may have reduced its power, but not its existence. Presidents shape history through appointments. Lincoln had already transformed the Supreme Court during the war. Had he lived through his second term, he likely would have made more appointments. Those justices might have shaped civil rights law differently. This matters. Later, Supreme Court decisions weakened Reconstruction protections. Some historians believe Lincoln-appointed justices might have defended those rights more strongly. That could have affected voting rights, equal protection, federal authority, civil rights enforcement. Legal history itself may have changed, and legal history often shapes everything else. One major problem after Lincoln's death was political exhaustion. Northern voters eventually lost interest. Support for Reconstruction weakened. By 1877, it effectively ended. Had Lincoln led it, public trust may have remained stronger. His popularity might have extended federal commitment. Longer Reconstruction could have meant stronger institutions in the South, better protection for freedmen, greater educational investment, stronger enforcement of rights. This is one of the strongest possibilities, not guaranteed, but plausible. This may be the biggest question. Lincoln had an extraordinary ability to calm conflict. He rarely humiliated opponents. He understood human nature. He understood pain. His second inaugural address showed this clearly. With malice toward none, with charity for all. That philosophy may have allowed national healing to begin faster, but healing requires both sides, and the South in 1865 was full of anger, defeat, humiliation. Lincoln could guide peace, but he could not force hearts to change. Even so, his presence may have softened the hardest years. Had Lincoln survived, his presidency would likely have ended in 1869. After that, he may have returned to Illinois, perhaps writing memoirs, perhaps shaping politics from behind the scenes, perhaps even becoming the elder statesman of the Republican Party. His voice during the turbulent 1870s would have mattered enormously. Imagine Lincoln commenting on Reconstruction, on race, on national healing. His moral authority would have remained unmatched. Instead, history froze him forever at 56, forever unfinished. What if Lincoln had survived? Would America have become more united, more just, less violent? Perhaps. Or perhaps the wounds of war were too deep for any man to heal. History offers no certainty, only possibility. But one truth remains clear. When Lincoln died, America lost more than a leader. It lost its best chance at a different peace, a different Reconstruction, and perhaps a different future. That is why, more than 160 years later, Abraham Lincoln remains one of history's greatest unfinished stories. This concludes the Lincoln Files. Thank you for watching.